9114 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And of course, later on, we're going to be taking a look at newspaper reviews. We'll be taking a look at the Daily Nation, the Star, the Standard, and Matters Business as well. And our topic today is Raila's demand to end protests and the economic implications of the same. I'll be joined by experts, but first, let us look at stories making headlines. President William Ruto invited German businessmen to invest in Kenya's micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. Speaking in Potsdam Platz in Berlin when he met Dr. Marcus Jagger, the chairman of Demostrations German Association of Small Medium-Sized Businesses, the president said Kenya stands to benefit from the world's most experienced, organized and resourced German establishments, which is the backbone of German economy, generating more than 60% of employment opportunities. Here are the details.
During his state visit to Germany, President William Ruto invited German businessmen to invest in Kenya's micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, stating that Kenya stands to benefit from the world's most experienced, organized and resourced German establishments. The president noted that the government is committed under its bottom-up economic transformation agenda by putting more than 50 billion Kenya shillings in the Hustler Fund to provide affordable credit to millions of Kenyans who depend on the MSME sector for a living. Dr. Marcus, the chairman of Mittelstand German Association of Small and Medium-Sized Businesses, noted that there are huge opportunities for those in Kenya's value addition program. Additionally, he stated that they can invest in cold storage technology to reduce post-harvest losses as they are already doing in Senegal. The association cited food processing, the digital economy, and intellectual property rights, among others, as some of the potential areas to invest in. Later, the president held talks with the Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade, led by its chairman Michael Stuhlmann, and agreed on the approaches to bring more German and international business to Kenya. James Odhiambo, GBS News.
Yesterday, business in Nairobi CBD remained closed as fear of demonstration remained high among the city dwellers. It was a long moment of anticipation in the morning as Azimio supporters waited for the opposition leader to show up despite the Inspector General of Police, Japhet Koome, banning the demos when he addressed the media on Sunday. However, as the day went by, some business opened with normalcy slightly returning. Hilali Kabira with that report.
The businesses operating within the Nairobi Central Business District remained unopened as the fear of demonstrations surfaced in the city's atmosphere. The Azimio party leader Raila Odinga showed up in the afternoon, with his convoy starting its journey from the Chungwa House, where he was said to have been having a meeting with some of the members of his party. The convoy proceeded to Kawangware, which was Azimio's first stopover, where the Azimio party leader tried to address the crowd of protesters before the police lobbed tear gas to disperse the looming crowd.
Azimio, tunaendelea. Wapende wasipende. Bei ya chakula mrudi chini. Sio? Na saba ifunguliwe. Tunaunga mkono. Asante sana.
The Azimio convoy later proceeded with its journey where they were set to address the public in Kibra, where they were met with a tight security along the way, with police lobbing tear gas to disperse the growing crowd of protesters. Despite the Inspector General of Police banning the protest on Sunday, Odinga still declared he will continue until his demands are met in full.
Tumesikia wengine wanasema sijui hata kesho wataleta vurugu jiji la Nairobi. Hakuna jambo kama hilo litafanyika. Tuko tayari kama kikosi cha polisi kuhakikisha kuna utulivu kwa nchi nzima, na kwanza jiji letu la Nairobi.
In Mathare, the anti-riot police engaged youth in a running battles on Monday as anti-government protests escalated. Heavy to small stones were placed along the road by youths in an attempt to block the police. The youths threw stones at the security personnel who were standing at a distance. Police who were armed threw tear gas in an attempt to disperse and chase away the youths. This was in a repetitive mode of most of the morning hours. More anti-riot police were deployed in Mathare in Nairobi after protesters barricaded a section of Juja Road near the Moi Air Base camp. The protests were as well witnessed in other parts of the country, with one person being reported dead after police opened fire at Kondele in Kisumu. Last week, Raila had vowed to storm the CBD, which was however blocked by the police. The opposition chief resulted to head to Mathare via Juja Road and address his supporters from there.
Leo Jumatatu tarehe 20.
Odinga also announced Azimio will be holding dawn to dusk protests in Nairobi and other parts of the country on Monday, at a time when President William Ruto will be in Berlin, Germany.
On the issue of demonstrations, I have no objection, because basically the common mwananchi is suffering. And it's across the board, from Namanga to Busia, and from Tarime to Northeastern, because the cost of living is affecting every Kenyan. And basically, it's not only on Unga.
On Sunday, the police IG Japhet Koome banned the planned countrywide protest by Azimio la Umoja coalition. The IG added that no one will be allowed to hold demonstration this week. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Narok residents defied opposition leader Raila Odinga's call to hold a nationwide protest and instead chose to continue with their normal businesses and called for peace. Kimtai Joseph, a former Ilmitiok ward member of the county assembly, noted that businesses are going on as usual, urging leaders to look into laws that will address lowering the cost of living in the country. Elsewhere, Ongenya Member of Parliament David Ochieng has vowed that he will never succumb to the intimidation aimed at muzzling him for expressing his political support to President William Ruto. Ochieng is among parliamentarians from Nyanza who have openly declared their support to the government against the wishes of Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga, said he will continue speaking his mind openly and will not be cowed by anybody. James Odhiambo with the details.
Narok residents defied opposition leader Raila Odinga's call to hold a nationwide protest and instead chose to continue with their normal businesses and called for peace. Kimtai Joseph, a former Ilmotiok ward member of the county assembly, noted that businesses are going on as usual, condemning demonstrations, saying they will not help in resolving any problem, but instead will hike the cost of living.
Jambo nataka kuongea kuhusu maandamano. Maandamano kwa njia yetu hawezi tusaidia. Azimio wako na wabunge ambao wako kwa bunge. So wapeleke mswada huko wapitishe hiyo biashara irudi chini kwa gharama. Hatuwezi support Ruto kwa sababu ati yako kwa kiti. What we need kama Wakenya ni wakae chini, sisi tupunguziwe gharama iende chini. Azwa mafuta ndio imeenda juu. Mafuta ikirudi chini kila kitu itakuwa imerudi juu. Lakini mambo na kurusha mawe, kurusha hivi vitu yote, hasara itakuwa yetu sisi wenyewe.
Tumekuja tumeamka asubuhi kama kawaida, lakini kazi inaonekana ndio iko chini kabisa. Naona kama sasa masaa tumekuja kutoka asubuhi, tumekaa hapa, abiria wayuko. Tumejaribu lakini kawaida amani inaonekana iko.
Hapa Narok tuko na usalama, naendelea vizuri. Isipokuwa tunaomba tu serikali itusaidie kwa hali ya uchumi. Shule imekuwa ni stress. Mtoto wa primary, kama huyu mtoto nimemshika hapa hivi, mtoto mwenyewe unalipia ni kama mtoto wa PP1 analipia kama yuko secondary. Mtoto wa secondary unalipia ni kama mtoto yuko university. University sijui tutaita aje, sijui tutaita wilaya, sijui tutaita aje. Gharama imekuwa, hiyo ndio changamoto ile imetupata.
Elsewhere, Ogenya Member of Parliament David Ochieng has vowed that he will never succumb to intimidation aimed at stopping him from expressing his political support to President William Ruto. Ochieng, who is among parliamentarians from Nyanza who have openly declared their support to the government against the wishes of Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga, noted at the Sega Polytechnic grounds in his constituency during the disbursement of the Constituency Development Fund bursary checks that he will continue speaking his mind openly and will not be stopped by anybody.
But I also have to build my political path. So if in building my political path we clash with him, so be it. So be it. Nitaongea kama mbaya, kama sawa. Mimi sioni ubaya na maandamano. Lakini kama unaandamana kwa sababu ya chakula, unaandamana kwamba chakula hakuna, na chakula inatoka kwa shamba, siku mvua inanyesha, wewe unaacha shamba unaenda maandamano. Akili iko wapi? Because mboga ni shamba. Kutoka kamano. Mahindi ni shamba. Kama ni nyama ni wapi? Shamba. Sasa tumekuwa tukisema hakuna chakula, cost of living imeenda juu. Hata tukafanya maombi kwa makanisa yetu hapa kwamba tuombe mvua ikuje. Ama sio hivyo? Sasa Mungu ametusikia, mvua inakuja. Wewe siku mvua inakuja nyesha kama jana imenyesha the whole night. Sasa jana it has rained the whole night. Ukiamuka unavaa gambut unaenda maandamano ama unachukua jembe unaenda shamba.
Despite the national warning against the Azimio la Umoja demonstrations by Inspector General National Police Service Japhet Koome, Raila supporters went on with the Monday protest in various parts of the country, seeing business operations inactive. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya has pledged to hold demonstrations every week on Mondays and Thursdays to push for, among others, the lowering of the cost of living by President William Ruto's administration. James Odhiambo, GBS News.
Higher education learners across the country now have a reason to smile after President William Ruto announced that the Higher Education Loans Board has been given enough funds in the past 2 weeks to lend to students nationwide. Speaking at Kisii National Polytechnic on Thursday afternoon on the first day of his 3-day visit to the Kisii, Nyamira and Migori counties, the head of state further promised the students of Kisii National Polytechnic addition of 5,000 hostels for better and efficient learning. Let's take a look.
Na kazi kupitia kompyuta ambazo tumezileta hapa Kisii National Polytechnic.
President William Ruto has dismissed reports indicating that the Higher Education Loans Board is cash-strapped. Speaking at Kisii National Polytechnic on Thursday during the first day of his 3-day visit to Kisii, Nyamira and Migori counties, President Ruto noted that the government had in the past 2 weeks disbursed enough funds to help for lending to students across the country.
Nataka niwatangazie. Sasa tumeweka pesa ya kutosha kwa budget in the last 2 weeks. Muko na pesa sasa ya Higher Education Loans Board na wale wote watapata pesa hiyo, ndio msihangaike, muweze kuendelea na masomo yenu bila ya matatizo.
He also added that the state is currently finalizing plans to hire 2,000 additional teachers for TVET institution. The head of state further promised the student of Kisii National Polytechnic addition of 5,000 hostels for better and efficient learning.
Mimi nataka waziri wetu apange na college hii, and I want to make a commitment to you guys that we are going to build 5,000 hostels in this Kisii National Polytechnic. Tutaongeza hostels hapa zingine 5,000 ili wanafunzi wa hapa wapate nafasi ya kusoma.
President Ruto's sentiments come after HELB CEO Charles Ringera on Wednesday told Parliament that approximately 140,000 public university students had missed out on state loans in the current fiscal year since the Loans Board had depleted its cash reserves. Added that HELB will now have to wait for the National Exchequer to release 5.7 billion Kenya shillings for it to remit the loans to the university students who mostly use the advance to pay for their tuition fees and upkeep. In the current financial year, the agency was allocated 14.8 billion Kenya shillings to finance students based on their economic backgrounds. A successful loan applicant receives between 35,000 Kenya shillings and 60,000 per year. Of the total loans disbursed, 8,000 is sent directly to the university as tuition fees and the balance to the beneficiary's bank account in 2 equal tranches covering the first and second semesters. HELB is supposed to be a revolving fund in which beneficiaries who have completed studies pay back to support a fresh group of students. The number of candidates who made the minimum university entry grade in the 2022 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination rose by 19% to 173,345 compared to 145,776 recorded the previous year. Over the past 5 years, nearly all students who scored C+ and above were admitted to the regular university programs, meaning they qualify for HELB loans. Beatrice Njeri, GBS News. International Youth Fellowship held its first free construction academy graduation ceremony on Saturday, the 25th of March. It was chaired by the IOF Director, Reverend Johan Kim, together with engineers in the academy. During the ceremony, the director brought to the table that the institution does not only offer free learning, but also acts as a rehabilitation center for youths who are addicted to drugs, as well as encourage graduates to use the knowledge they have gained to solve the unemployment crisis in the country. Let's take a look. International Youth Fellowship held its first free construction academy graduation ceremony on Saturday, the 25th of March. It was a colorful event that saw 60 graduates receive their certificates of expertise in various areas of construction, including carpentry, electrical engineering, brickmaking and laying, tile technology, masonry and plastering, architectural drawing and reading, among others.
Followed by Gideon Ngoka.
The first ever IYF Free Construction Academy program was full board, inclusive of meals and accommodation. The successful applicants stayed at the center for 4 months of training. Many graduates could not hide their joy after completing their courses and experiencing the long-awaited graduation ceremony. Caroline Jerry Kamau, one of the graduates, stated that the experience was nice and challenging, especially because she was the only lady in the male-dominated area of work in the country. Nevertheless, she was happy to achieve her dream of being an interior designer. Many graduates and their parents shared their thankfulness to the institution for not only learning technical skills for free, but also learning the word of God, and now they are looking forward to using the skills to get their livelihood.
The experience was nice, but somehow challenging. You know, being the only lady, my passion for doing interior design since I was young, so that's why I didn't rush to something like beauty or those things. Yeah.
Here is the best place for you. One, when you came here, there is a variety of things you have to come and know. One, you are really being taught how to relate yourself and your heart with God. That's one thing. The second thing is the issue about mindset.
Nimekuja graduation, nimefurahia sana. Hiyo experience amepata, najua itamsaidia zaidi. Kabisa.
Jana yangu ambaye alimaliza form 4 na alifika form 4 ndiye alifanya form 4 mwezi wa 4 mwaka jana. Sasa akawa amekuja hapa, nilikuwa bado nimelemewa kupeleka yeye college, nilikuwa najipanga nione kama naweza pata kitu at least, ndio niangalie mahali naweza enda. Lakini bahati mzuri kwa amekuja kutembelea ndugu yake mwenye anafuata hapa baba ndogo, akaweza kukutana na vijana wale walikuwa na sambaza ile ujumbe ya kukuja hapa.
Walter Mwakio, an interior design engineer, noted that unlike many institutions, the program does not only teach skills but teaches working from the heart. And when the heart is changed, the perspective can be changed as well. Nicholas Njue, brick-making engineer, said that those students that were previously using drugs were able to stop through the word of God that was continuously shared with them during meetings and fellowships regularly.
Here we are able to teach them working from the heart. The other schools, they teach the knowledge, but here we deal with the heart. So the training starts from the heart, and through that, when the heart is trained, then everything can start to change from the heart. So through that, we could able also to see how one by one they changed, and they could also follow every schedule or every classes as according they were directed.
Some were even using drugs, and so we never did anything. We just have to continue pushing them to the fellowships, and they went in fellowships through the word of God. I could see them changing
Speaking during the ceremony, the director of International Youth Fellowship, Reverend Johan Kim, applauded the graduates for successfully finishing the renovation of the interior design of one of the halls in the institution and working together for the completion of the construction of Mahanaim University building. The director brought to the table that the institution does not only offer free learning, but also acts as a rehabilitation center for youths who are addicted to drugs, as well as encourage graduates to use the knowledge they have gained to solve an employment crisis in the country, further stating that he looks forward to the second season of the Construction Academy.
For Construction Academy, we were able to come together because we thought about how can we, even if it's in a small way, we can bring a change in the society. Everyone, is that right? Yes. So as you all heard, some of you have come here not realizing that this place is a church. This is a church, but this is also an education institute. And then all of you were able to quit alcohol, drugs, and smoking bangi and all that. After this, I hope all of you can take many photos, right? Yes, with your family, with your colleagues, and with your teachers in front of the university, and show your families what you have done. Sindio? Hey, mom and dad, you know this red brick? I'm the one who made it. Sindio? You see this ceiling? I'm the one who put it.
International Youth Fellowship was established as a worldwide youth organization and international NGO based on a Christian mindset in 2001 to raise leaders with a global insight through youth education and activities and provide realistic solutions to problems in the global village. Free Construction Academy is just one of the many programs by International Youth Fellowship, as it has many academies including free weekend training program on programming, graphic design, camera operation, video editing, dance, foreign languages, and mindset education, among others. IYF has been established with a mindset of change, challenge, and cohesion to strengthen the hearts of the youth and give them hope and confidence to go beyond their limitations and overcome their challenges in life. Bitis Njeri, GBS News. And that news ushers us to our international news. NATO has called Russia's President Vladimir Putin nuclear rhetoric dangerous and irresponsible. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky also accused Putin of making Belarus a nuclear hostage with his announcement on Saturday that Russia was going to store tactical nuclear weapons in the country, which both nations border. Lina Lunjok with that report.
Putin on Saturday linked his plan to the United States stationing its weapon in Europe. He also insisted that such a move will not violate nuclear non-proliferation agreement. Moscow had already stationed 10 aircraft capable of carrying tactical weapons in the country. He added that a number of Iskander tactical missile systems that can launch nuclear weapons had also been stationed in the country. The Iskander M contains 2 guided missiles with a range of up to 300 miles and can carry conventional or nuclear carrier warheads. Putin said that the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko had a long requested the deployment and there was no immediate reaction from Lukashenko. Belarus, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan had nuclear weapons stationed on their territory but handed over them to Russia after the 1991 collapse of the Soviet Union. So this could be the first time since then that Russia had based such weapons outside the country. American reaction to Putin's announcement was muted. National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson on Saturday said that the U.S. had not seen any reason to adjust our own strategic nuclear posture, nor any indication Russia is preparing to use a nuclear weapon. Lena Lunjok, GBS News.
Israel protests intensify after Netanyahu sacks defense minister. Furious reactions to Yoav Gallant being fired for warning that judicial overhaul poses immediate danger to national security on Sunday. A large protest erupted in Tel Aviv after Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed the defense minister Yoav Gallant. Lina Linjok with that detail. And of course, do make sure to keep the SMSs coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. And that news ushers us to our newspaper review. Of course, I'll be joined by, of course, one analyst as well. But first, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football account.
Yeah, wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I'm coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football account.
Yeah, wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I'm coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football account.
Yeah, wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out kwa football account.
Yeah, wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Everywhere, GBS.
Good morning once again, and thank you for joining this live broadcast Morning Extra. And this time we are directly going to be taking a look at the segment of the news dailies that is happening today as we speak in our leading newspapers. We take a look at the Daily Nation, the Standard, the Star, and Matters Business as well. And joining us to analyze this conversation of the newspapers and of course the topic today is one Tony Brilliance, who is a lawyer, policy and governance analyst. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and it has been long since we met, and thank you for joining us. And we have also one Daudi Kosa, who is an aspiring member of Parliament. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Beatrice.
Yes, it is always a pleasure to have you guys joining me, and of course to have this conversation and give a proper review of what is happening in the state as we speak. Without further ado, let us take a look at the Daily Nation and what is making headlines at the Daily Nation as well. Now, if you take a look at the Daily Nation, we can see one topic there that is on the very top is the failing fortunes as KQ records 38 billion loss. Of course, this is, of course, related in matters, the demonstrations that are happening. We can see the economic implications that this has had. Maybe you can talk about that just a little bit, just to kickstart the conversation this morning, Mr. as well.
I would look at this in two ways, economic implications. The first one is, you know, when people are poor, crime is high. When people are poor, they don't have basically money to buy whatever they need to get. And so when people resort to things like mass action, and of course the Constitution allows them under certain parameters or boundaries, of course the economy is affected in the sense that people are not able to go to work, especially the mama mbogas, the so-called hustlers. They're not able to go to work and conduct get their daily food. So economically, it's affecting the nation in one way. But then in the other way, it is necessary. I feel it is necessary because somebody has got to keep the government on toes. Someone has got to keep the government in check. To me, it looks like the government at this point has no clue on what is going on what they're supposed to do. Really, the government has no clue. To me, it looks like they need to get their act together because the first indicator of economic issues that we're having right now is the high cost of living. And the people who are in government right now, I'm sorry to say, but we're at a point where we believed that this is supposed to be a government of hustlers. We believe this is supposed to be a government that takes care of the poor person. But the economic, numbers don't lie. The currency is at a free fall right now, you can see. We have not yet recovered from the effects of the pandemic. At this point, 20%, I think the currency is now devalued at 20%. So if you ask me, yes, it has its pros and it has its cons, but at this point it is necessary.
And now, just a second to that headline, we have Stop This Madness. That is, of course, the headline there. And a man was shot dead by police in Kisumu and several people injured on the second Monday of protest with which property of unknown value was looted and destroyed. Properties belonging to the families of former President Uhuru Kenyatta and Azimio leader Raila Odinga were targeted for the attack. With matched gangs are driving away animals and setting tea plantation on fire as the Kenya's Northland City estate. Before we even go to matters talking about what happened with the families, of course, the Kenyatta family and the Azimio leader coalition family as well, just the topic itself, Stop This Madness. At what point are we going to reason with what is happening in the state as we speak? And how do we even stop this?
Thank you so much, Beatrice. This is not acceptable, and we can figure out what is going to happen next. What are we seeing in the next future to come? It is very clear that this thing is escalating to tribal clashes and violence that we are killing our own self. How can we claim that we are fighting for high cost of living to come down when we are increasing the levels of our living at the grassroots level? This is when you see directly when brothers are fighting against brothers, our supermarkets are being run down by the same people who are calling themselves that are doing peaceful demonstrations. This one is totally unacceptable. Look at the way people went to the farm of the family of former president. Look at what was happening. The people in full gear of the MDD.
I'd like you to hold on that point before you even start talking about the families, because I don't want us to get there yet. Now, I would also like you to address this issue. How is the cause of Azimio clear now that we have seen what is transpiring? And do they need to take another take at these issues? Of course, they did talk about the high cost of living, the reconstitution of the IBC, and the opening of the servers. And what Kenyans are feeling the pinch right now is this week, we can affiliate that to the high cost of living. And now, is it going as it's supposed to, or they're supposed to take another course at this?
In my understanding, Azimio leader, Honorable Raila Odinga, has given, or he had given the government some time. I won't call it an ultimatum, but he had given the government some time for dialogue. Unfortunately, it was perceived to be a way of calling for handshake. And remember, I look at the government as it's an administration for all of us. So if someone is calling for dialogue, let's look at it from the background of people. This particular honorable, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, one feels like the issue of electoral injustice has to be addressed. He also feels that the issue of high cost of living needs to be addressed. Now, I believe that this is the clear cause that he has at hand, and this is what he's fighting for. Now he approaches the government, and the government says, no, we don't have time for dialogue, we don't want your handshake. Whether he wanted a handshake or not, that is, I think at this point, from where I look at it, the government is making an assumption that that is what they want. Because Raila has not yet come out and said, this is what I'm looking for. If there is any other course to take, yes, I feel like dialogue is important for the sake of this nation. Remember, we are not the first ones to come at this point that we are. We've had countries like Rwanda, where it came to a point when people could no longer dialogue anymore. When it felt like there was a clash between tribes and a clash between dynasties and hustlers or sufferers, and then no one was willing to sit down and talk about it, it degenerated into something big. And this is what I feel we should avoid at this point. So what is the next, what are they supposed to do? Dialogue. And I feel some people in the government are too comfortable in their comfort zones and don't want to talk about this particular thing, dialogue. And because of that, I think it's taking the country to a dark hole.
Yes. And now, Mr. David, I would like to tackle the issue of the ones who have seen a man was shot dead by police, and we did see a student as well was shot dead, and these people do feel they're exercising their right to, of course, protest peacefully on the issues that they feel maybe others are protesting for the high cost of living. But are the police working within the law, or is there a commotion there?
Thank you so much, Beatrice. Before I touch on the people who are shot dead, I want just to disagree with my colleague Wakili on the terms of dialogue. What does Raila want as the former Prime Minister? Raila has given out the ultimatum clearly that he wants the server to be opened. Raila wants the cost of living to go down. And he has ordered even his followers to boycott some of the products. And this is the same person who you are telling me that is fighting for the high cost of living to come down. This is totally unacceptable. Let us not pretend and talk about the people interest, the dynasty interest, when the people on the grassroots level are suffering. Or to touch on the matters of the people who are shot in Kibera alone, around 2 people died on the first demonstration, and one of our area garage member also was shot twice on the hand. It's called Duncan Ouma. And all this happened through, I don't want to call it negligence, because policemen also are human beings, and they're also working within the law to protect their own rights. And it is very clear that they will always use full force of law when they are also endangered upon their life. And this person was shot in the hand twice. He's in Bangathi Hospital. Yesterday alone, around 50 people were treated at Oshirika. Where are we heading to? People are clashing to one another. Well, the Nubian community and the Luo community were fighting against one another. You heard that the mosque was burnt, partly. I don't know whether you are aware. And what caused this? What caused this? Where are we heading to? Is this peaceful demonstration or where? Is this mass action or peaceful demonstration? Are we going to support this through what can we do? What are the faith-based organizations doing? What are the leaders of the community doing? What are we as the champion of the advocacy in the community? What are we doing? Are we going to fight against one another? Yesterday in the morning at 8 a.m., people were looting everywhere. People were tension, hostility. Why should I steal from my brother? Why should I? This is called sacrosanct actions. This is not acceptable, and I will not support this. In any case, our leaders should find a normal way to sit down and talk. We should not proceed. Thursday is coming. What do we expect? People are already hostile. Now I want to tell you that the mosque was banned. What do we expect from the people who own the mosque? What do we expect? People are being cut. People are being maimed because in the name of peaceful demonstration. If you really love the people of Kenyan citizens, you should not subject them to this total injuries. I can't support that, Beatrice.
Yes, and now that we started talking about the issue of the police, I would also like us to take a look of what transpired yesterday with the Kenyatta family business and, of course, the former Prime Minister's family businesses. And, of course, with the coverage that we could see from the media, that the attacks on their property did continue, and the police were nowhere to be seen. And it is alarming now that he's the former president, and you'd expect that there will be response when these matters happen to these people in high places. What has the police started taking a political side, or what is happening?
Of course, the police, I feel, right now is being controlled. In the beginning of these mass demonstrations, I think the first Monday that it began, they took a very neutral stand. They were not in the usual how I know police conduct, their business. They took a very neutral stand. They were not very hostile, and they were very understanding with the protesters, if you ask me. Now, as time went by, I think I saw some news where the Deputy President Gachagua was sitting there with police officials, and then after that, we have started seeing things happening, and I feel they're taking the high road. We are talking about the former president here, somebody who needs at least some level of respect. This, to me, looks like some people are trying to settle political scores, and it is unacceptable. What people need to realize is that government, at some point, you have the government, you're in government for a particular period of time. If you die while you're still in power, maybe you're lucky. But most people, you get to be in government for a particular point in time. And when your time is expired, remember that if you've read, the Karl Marx theories, where he talks about the bourgeois and the proletariat, it comes to a point when the rich class, or the elite, when they've enjoyed power for a period of time, then the proletariat also find their own way into power. And what usually happens is a class clash. I don't know if it's making sense. Yes. So what will happen basically is what you do to others, or what these people are doing to the former president, is most likely what will happen to them if they don't cease and desist. It is most likely going to happen to them. Yes, because people are watching, and at this point they may not be able to do anything. But when the time comes, if they do not cease and desist, we are going to have a problem.
Just talking about the same as well, Mr. David, of what transpired yesterday, where do we go from here? If the Azimio continues with the protest, of course, because they have said they will continue to do so and they will be back on Thursday, how can it be contented in a manner that brings peace?
Where do we go from here? It is exactly clear that we are going back to 2007 violence that occurred, and we lost a lot of people in this country. When these demonstrations continue, I'm telling you that we are going to experience a lot of more deaths and more injuries and more displacements. In fact, the high cost of living has caused a lot of domestic violence, high rates of criminals, high drug abuse. And when you see the former president, in fact, everyone in Kenya is subjected to the same law. Everyone are equal. When we talk of the people who invaded the farm of the former president, we should also talk with the people who, within 2 minutes, destroyed a 20 million supermarket back to zero. Where are we heading to? And the supermarkets employs around 200 people in the community. The 200 people are our brothers, our sisters, our mothers. Where are we heading to? When we tend to pretend that we are protecting the same Kenyan citizens, and we are the same people who are inciting the same citizens to do these destructions of all the properties. In fact, you've just seen the falling fortunes of as KQ records 38 billion loss within a day. What do you expect in the near future? I'm telling you, it's high time we come. Where do we go wrong as Kenyan citizens? We should be enlightened enough to stop this madness of fighting one another, distractions, Peaceful demonstrations can be experienced. We experience it in South Africa. What's wrong with Kenya? Every time there's demonstration, we have to fight. We have to destroy things. And all these things are happening in the backyard of the Azimio One Kenya Alliance areas. What is happening with us? When should we learn as Kenyan citizens? Our youths, when shall we learn in this process of demonstrations? The Chapter 4 Bill of Rights gives every Kenyan citizen to picket peacefully. Why can't we do it peacefully? Why should we steal from and destroy other people's things? And this is very bad. If we don't do anything about it, my friend, I'm telling you, we as human rights activists, we are doing nothing. We've been creating reconciliation and promoting peace building. And look at now what is happening. There's hostility everywhere, from the media platform and everywhere to the community level. You can't even talk to your people. The people who you always do everything, you play football together, that the people who are turning against you. Where are we heading? Because of incitements of our leaders. These leaders, after inciting us, they go back to their marionettes and sleep peacefully. Look at now the people who were injured yesterday. They are even the top leaders of these political parties. I've never visited them. We get calls. We take books to start contributing small amounts of money so that their children should eat back at home. Where are we heading to? When should we learn of the Kenyan citizen? And who shall carry the burden? Who shall carry the cross of the people who are dying, the blood of people who are being bathed because of this political inclination? This is very painful, Beatrice, and we are heading as a very dangerous zone. So I urge all our citizens, all our youth to calm down and let's love one another. Let's picket peacefully instead of destroying everything around us.
Before, I would like us to move to the Standard as well and see what is making headlines, because we have seen similar matters making headlines as well. But before we even go there, I would like to know, are your thoughts the same, Mr. Tony Brilliance, where we move from here? We have seen they are making, of course, the Azimio la Umoja have clearly made their demands. We have the high cost of living, we have the opening of the IBC servers, we have the reconstitution of the IBC, and a lot has been tabled, and the government is now not, what we are saying, they are pushing for response, or maybe in a matter of address. But you see, people are dying, the high cost of living is still there. Where do we go from here? What is happening? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I still insist on dialogue, except that this time, this dialogue, they've got to come to a compromise. Now, there are certain demands that I feel Azimio is making that is nonsensical. And I think this is these particular demands are the main reasons why the government is still hell-bent on not sitting down with them at the table. Like the issue of saying Ruto must resign. At some point I heard people saying, we are going to go to State House and throw stones. Now, if you look at President Ruto and Raila Odinga, these people, they have already made their wealth. These people, in fact, I know President Ruto's daughter is the one who's managing Weston. I know from the news that we read, Raila's daughter is now in Ayala, and these other people, Kalonzo Musyoka, his son is now he's now in Ayala. These people don't have anything to lose, so let them sit down as leaders and then put their pride aside, and come to a compromise. Let them dialogue. I'm telling you, you can't insist. Let the server be opened. Let the server be opened. Yet you had all the time to do that in the Supreme Court. You had the time to do that. If these people are very genuine, because I kind of support some calls, the issue of the high cost of living to be brought down, and economic development to be on top of the menu of the table. I support that. But when it is about settling political scores, I think that they are compromising, they are mixing things here. So each party, from both sides of the divide, they all need to compromise and talk about the most important thing. And what is that? The interest of the Kenyans.
Now, let us move to the Standard. And thank you very much, gentlemen, for your continuous analysis of the same. Now, what is making headlines there, before we even took at the Kenyatta's under siege that we have already gone through, there is the issue of the CAS assume office in spite of the court order. Now, if you remember, the numbers were questionable. There was the number of CAS, do correct me if I'm wrong, was supposed to be 23. Now, the numbers that are submitted are about 50. So there was a big question there, and there was an order to stop them, but still there is assuming office. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you so much. I just want to support my colleague on matters of opening the server, whereas he has opened, he's widened his spectrum of argument by saying if indeed they wanted the server to be opened, they should have petitioned the Supreme Court, because they took every kind of their petition to the court, and the verdict was read in front of everybody. So I support dialogue. Even the government say they are ready for dialogue, but not for nonsensical things like opening server. So when it's come for dialogue, high cost of living must come down. And I must support that. There's a high cost of living when you see the electricity, when you see all commodities are very high. So when I want to talk of the CSS assuming office without, in spite of court order, our Kenyan law is very clear. And I can't support, because the court or this court order that should be respected. So if you can't respect the court order, that now is not even decency. The government must be decency in a way that they must go in tandem with the constitution. This is a country that is sovereign, and everything is operated under the constitution. So if there's a court order, the court order must be respected in spite of anything that comes before. So I don't support the assuming of office without consultation of the court processes.
Now, I'd like you, Mr. Tony, to talk about, of course, we'll talk more about the court order and the way it was not respected. Now, let's talk about the CAS. The number was supposed to be 23, and now the number is 50. What is the drive? Of course, there's a lot of issues, and we can see many were arguing. If you could check Twitter, many were arguing the way the CAS receive their salaries, they have their mortgage, they also have the car that is going about 20 million. There's a lot of allowances between that. And now people are talking about the high cost of living, and now even putting more people that need money. There was the HELB issue that is also happening, that the students, 140,000 students are not able to get their HELB money to be able to continue. There are many issues at hand that do need the financial address as well. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I feel the government also is losing its priorities. Like, remember when we were starting, I said, I feel as far as the government economic policies are concerned, they have no clue what they're doing. They look like they have a clue, but they have no clue. For instance, when we are claiming there is no money, there's high cost of living, we are claiming that we just basically have financial issues. And then we are looking at how they are spending. I read the news some other time that the executive is spending 807 million on buying cars. I saw the Prime CS creating an office for his wife, and saying millions should be allocated to that office for addressing the issues that are facing the poor people. I've seen also yesterday, I think I read it in the news somewhere, that someone was saying the president's wife, I think, they need to set up more money for her office so to address the issues. I feel if you see the trajectory where this is going, priorities are lost. We are not directing the money or channeling the money where the money needs to be. And I feel like at some point, the government needs to sit down and evaluate itself, evaluate its policies, because the way we are going to, the economic downturn will just lead to a collapse.
David, all the same, what are your thoughts on the same?
I don't have any problem with the numbers so long as it's constitutional. If it is not constitutional, then we are out of order to appoint the CSA. There are a number of 50 to 51 people. That's too much. But in tandem with the high cost of living, when we look back 1 year ago before election, where were we? What was the cost of living at that time? What was happening? We even saw the controller of budgets mentioning that within 27 minutes she was coerced to withdraw over 15 billion. what are the scenario behind high cost of living, whereby now we can caution the government on every process that they're making. We know very well that there was outstanding bills, ineligible pending bills and eligible pending bills. The ineligible pending bills were paid. That's very shameful to the government, the former regime. And these are the facts that we know very clearly. What are the status of KEMSA scandals? And why don't we talk about these things? There's a lot of billions that were looted in the last regime with the same government that were there. That are claiming that the cost of living is available. Why don't we talk about these people? Why don't these people be brought to book? And these are the things that we should be talking about. Let's face things by the names. Let's not pretend by hiding side by sides. There's truly high cost of living. What cost this? Are we even practicing ecological justice, climate advocacy? Are we even creating awareness? Are we even practicing agricultural activities? Cost of living won't come down through a magic. We have to be actionable on the ground. What are we doing for cost of living to come down? Are we even putting the people who are corrupted on book so that at least we can streamline ourselves in a way that we can present our issues very well? So people are claiming that the number of CSS is too much because they are burdened, and we are adding a lot of burden to the society. And if indeed the numbers doesn't go with the constitution, then I can't support that, Beatrice.
Now, the matters of the issue of the rule of law, we did have a court order not to have them resume office, but then again they went against that. This is appointment of the highest office in this country by the president himself, and you can see them the way they are blushing off the law and what has been given. What is happening if if they go by what is happening and they have allowed that to just go in the face of the government, in the eyes of political leaders, in the eyes of the court houses of Kenya? What is that showing for the government and the balance between the government and the rule of law?
You know, the Supreme Court, if we look at how this current government came to be, this matter was decided at the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And everyone obeyed the Supreme Court, yes, the judgment. Yes. Why is it that when it is favoring you, mm-hmm, you know, when it is favoring you, no one has a problem, mm-hmm, and you don't want even the opposition to have a problem with that? Mm-hmm. But why is it that when the Supreme Court gives a judgment, or when the Supreme Court gives a ruling that is not favoring you, now you look at this, you're all up in arms. You look at the Supreme Court as the enemy of the people. You do not want to respect that. That is the true definition of impunity. Mm-hmm. If the current government right now feels that, if the current government right now is going against what the Supreme Court has ruled, mm-hmm, and then they're also opposing the opposition, with the opposition saying that they don't agree with the judgment of the Supreme Court. If the government is true to what they are saying, then they should not be opposing, they should not be fighting the opposition, because it is the same thing. Everyone, they don't want to respect the rule of law. This is what I see. There's a matter that I had not touched before, because you had asked me, and I think I didn't really touch on it. This matter of the CASs. When the Supreme Court says that we don't, you know, the issue of the CSS, the institution of CAS office is unconstitutional. And then you go ahead and institute the CAS and tell them to assume office. You are an enemy of the people. And we are not ready for this burden, this financial. What is the CAS going to do that the principal secretaries are not going to do, or that the CAS are not going to do? Kenya, if you compare Kenya and other nations, for instance, Kenya and the US, Kenya is probably one size, or let me use even India. Kenya is one size. The size of Kenya is just about the size of 2 states in India. But we have more leaders in Kenya compared to even India itself. We almost, our ranks, when you count our ranks, we are so bloated, and we are spending so much money on salaries. To majority of the people who have been elected are extremely incompetent. But that is where our money, and then we are complaining that the high cost of living. I think we need to start, let's bring back Punguza Mzigo, that bill someone was trying to bring it. Let's bring that, because we need to cut costs. This issue of now we have to put CISs because the government is trying to reward loyalists. Mm-hmm. That has to stop. Mm-hmm. That is impunity of the highest order.
Do you have an addition to that as well, Mr. David?
I just support him that it's a reward. It's a reward to inclination of political party. Yeah.
And
So-
now just to continue the headlines at the Standard, we can see there eat chicken feet Egyptian as living costs rise. That is on the Financial Standard as well. The high cost of living is happening across the globe there. We can be able to see even in Egypt. And then for the lovers of sports, you can see tag there, what's next for Tottenham after Conte exit. And the headline there, the headlines is Kenyatta's under siege. You see hundreds of youths, some ferried from unknown destination, invaded the city farm belonging to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's family, hewing down trees and cutting away sheep. In the evening, they lit fires on the farm, but there was no police presence. That is on page 6 and page 7 of the Standard as well. And we can see another headlines, KQ slams to record that 8.5 billion loss. And airline says performance is the result of reclassified loan that is led to 18 billion loss. That is on page 21 of the Standard as well. And Raila's mass action there, and you can see a picture of what transpired yesterday in Kibra. There is a picture there you can see of the Azimio coalition talking with the people there, which Raila mass action is said to leave city in paralysis. And moving to the People's Daily and what is making headlines there as well, we can see MPs want Kenya Power to stop IPP contracts. Maybe you could start addressing that. What the MPs want about Kenya Power, if you have any addition to any input on that? Yes, starting with you, David.
Or just to give something, to give a remarks of MP wants Kenya Power to stop new IPP contract, maybe because of the high cost of tax. Yeah, and you see the way currently the Kenya Power is taxing like 62%, just right from the normal tax, and you see people are suffering. People are suffering. When you see people are trying to complain in the society about the high tax of Kenya Power. I think MPs are representatives of the community, and they are only representing what the community has told them to represent. So I think it's upon them to mandate their obligations through presenting our issues of the community in Parliament. So if indeed there's a disconnect between the Kenya Power and the community and the society as a whole, then I feel it's right that the contract should be stopped. Yeah.
Maybe your thoughts on the same?
I wouldn't say I'm so much private with these IPP contracts. I've really not gone through the nitty-gritties of IPP contracts. But one thing, let me work with what we are seeing right now on the ground. We are seeing the cost of electricity, or the cost of at least what I pay, it's rising. And when the president was campaigning, before he became president, he had promised that he was going to deal with this issue. And unfortunately, at this point, I do not know who is reporting to the president or giving the president reports on how especially Kenya Power and KQ is doing, because you've spoken about KQ. This leadership needs to be overhauled. Kenya Power and KQ, the leadership needs to be overhauled, because we are not seeing the results that we want. We are, as much as we are fighting for high cost of living to go down, there are certain things that we shouldn't even be talking about. One of them is being Kenya Power. I think there is a lot of incompetency going on there. They need to overhaul their leadership.
And you can see also there another headline is Guns raid who land amid demos. That is a headline that has made headlines in all the newspapers. They have talked about that as well. Attackers steal livestock, set property on fire just days after state officers warning. Gang on motorcycles also attack Raila's gas cylinder farm, breaking windows in Melee. Azimio leaders hold protest in Kawangware, Kibra, Mathare to push for lower cost of living. Of course, you can see there are some photos of Kibra and the other places as well of what transpired in. And now just quickly to go to matters business before we now expound on our topic today. We can see there commodities and services tend to increase in the price with a shift from middle income to developed economy. That is on page 9. You make sure to look at that and then see real new laws forces gamblers to save with every bet placed, where the government will slash a chunk of billions stocked every year from bundles and channel them into a bursary hustler fund style saving kitty promoted by President William Ruto's administration as a way of developing a saving culture among Kenyans. And we see there another headline is first state-to-state fuel import cargo arrives mid-April, where we see Oryx, all these engineers, Galana Oil and Gulf Energy, will be the next 2 weeks deliver the first batch of fuel on a 180-day credit period under the government. And then another headline there is UAE tackles China as top import sources on costly fuel. And we see there the United Arab Emirates has, for the first time, overtaken China to become the largest import and source market for Kenya by value, reflecting the impact of the runaway cost of petroleum products. And you see the DTB divide rises 66 on the higher profit, where you see DTB Group has raised its dividend payout by 66% to 5% share every year ended December. And what has also made headlines in the other headlines as well is the KQ marks a decade in losses, eyes profit next year, where Kenya Airways has reported its 10th consecutive loss. It's completed a decade in the red territory with a record of 38.26 billion full-year loss hurt by debt and skyrocketing fuel prices. The Nation Caters yesterday highlighted the scale of the turnaround task ahead when it broke its own record for the country's biggest loss from a listed company. This KQ issue has been really making headlines. You could see it making headlines in the papers as well and in matters businesses, and they did talk about the high cost of fuels that is really affecting the economy as we speak. That has gone through the biggest loss that it has ever gone through, and that can be affiliated to the high cost of fuels that I did just speak about, and maybe the subsidies issues. Do you think it has any effect on that? Yes, starting from me.
Well, subsidies issues, KQ is always being given subsidies. From time immemorial. I've said this, I've stated this before, and I'm going to state it again. Please overhaul the leadership of KQ. The board of directors, you need to overhaul everything and put in competent people. Our problem is leadership. We have incompetent people, and if it's either they're competent or they're corrupt. So that is something that needs to be done. This issue of subsidies, I don't think that is really what we should be looking for. Yeah.
And what is happening in the business world? We can see people going through a lot of losses. Mr. David, maybe you can give your thoughts on the same.
Thank you so much. Just want to support my colleague on subsidies issue. I also don't support subsidies because in the last regime, subsidies cost almost Kenyans. Subsidies on maize and fuel cost every Kenyan about 8 billion. 5 billion on maize and 3 billion on fuel. So, and this money was going to the pockets of the cartels and brokers. So I don't believe in subsidies. If overhauling the leadership of an institution will make progress, why? They should do so. Then I just said it when I was starting that we should expect more. A lot of destruction is taking place. The people company destruction through this mass action call. Mass action is not demonstration. Mass action is a call. What's the meaning of mass action? Mass action is destruction. Mass action is killing. Mass action is violence. That mass action will be withdrawn from the Azimio One Kenya Alliance Party people, because it's creating a lot of disasters in countrywide, global, countrywide and in various towns. If you see, what's the cause of all this high cost of living as per now? People, small-scale business has been destroyed, has been looted, has been vandalized. Yesterday, are you aware that Toy Open Air Market was burnt partially? Just what do you think the people who took loan to put those business there are going to feel? Where will they get money to put the business back again? the people who are beside the roads who are looted totally. Who will pay for that? Who will pay for their business? Why? How do you expect for the high cost of living to go down when the same people who are struggling to make life are being looted by the same brothers they live with in the society, by the same people they have in the community, and the same leaders that we respect so much and we celebrate that are the fourth arm of government are inciting us to fight against one another. So to my remarks, I just want to appeal to our brothers and sisters, our citizens of Kenya. Let's learn how to learn and redirect our actions towards our brothers and sisters. Let's not destroy the properties of our own brothers and sisters. Let's not burn. Let's not fight. Let's not target one another because of political affiliations. So high cost of living also will just go down when we have some action. Let's have some decency and moderate models of bringing out high cost of living back to the. And what is NIC doing about all this? What is Samuel Kobia doing about all these incitements? What are the institution of NIC doing? Look at this, the way the people are so reckless in their speeches out here. Look at what are we doing? What do we expect? Do they need people to die so that they can come out? I just want to appeal to the government. Let them direct the issue of high cost of living, at the same time promote peace building. If the dialogue is based on high cost of living, let it be based on high cost of living, and let's discuss that towards the development of our young youth and women back on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking us through those reviews of the newspapers as well. Tell us what are your thoughts on the same. Those are just going through the headlines, but you can dig in and see for yourself the stories that have been spoke about in the Daily Nation, in the Standard, in the Star, People's Daily, and Matters Business as well. Make sure to dig in for yourself, read and see what is happening in the state as we speak. And now, just we did talk about because our topic tonight was also making headlines, where we are going to be talking about Raila's demand to end the protest and the economic implications of the demonstrations as well. We'll be back talking about that, and of course we'll have a continuous talk about that. And my dear viewer, do you have a comment on the same? The SMS line is 21144, GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the talk.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football account.
Yeah, wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Good morning and thank you for staying tuned with us. The SMS line is 21144. GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. We did talk about Raila's demands to end protest and the economic implication that has to come with. And I'm still with the gentleman live with me. We have Mr. David Kose, who is an aspiring member of parliament. And of course, we also have Tony Brilliance, who is a lawyer and also a governance and political analyst as well. And thank you so much for joining us and expounding on this topic as well. We need to see that the topic that we're talking today was making headlines in the newspaper and we have touched on it. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about that as well. Now, we have the Azimio demands. We did talk, you did, of course, with you made the demands that are important and the others that are nonsensical, just using the same word that you did use. We have the high cost of living and we have the reconstitution of IBC, we have the opening of the servers. And now let us just go to the high cost of living. This is an issue that is affecting everyone. Everyone can feel the pinch, starting from the students to the parents to the common mwananchi. Everyone is feeling the pinch. Even Keiki is feeling the pinch. Now, the dynamics. Are they tenable, the high cost of living? The government is barely 6 months old. How do we solve this? Starting with you.
Well, yeah, of course, the government needs to be given time. However, we expected to see they have made some little progress, especially within the first 100 days in office. Why? Because it is a tradition we have had in this country, and plus what they said during their campaigns, unless they were just giving us false promises. But we expected to see, I think that the Daily Nation, or is it the Standard, that rated them average 50%. And they said what they got right and what they got wrong. Unfortunately, the things they got right were I wouldn't say they are so much affecting the economy in a positive light. It was a lot of it was more political, and to some extent also education was mentioned, so that was a good thing. But as far as economics is concerned, as far as our economic health is concerned, or economic development is concerned, that there is a lot that needs to be done. And yes, you might say they've had how many months now? 6 months. Yes, we need to give them some more time, but they're not. If they're going towards the wrong direction, that needs to be stated. They're going towards the wrong direction as of now. Yes.
And just to add on that, Mr. David, maybe you can talk about the cost of living and how tenable is that. But even as we go through that, I would like you to address the implications of the demonstrations on the businesses of people. We did have one of the leaders come out and say they are losing 1 billion daily. Of course, I don't know how true is that. And what effect is this demonstration having on the businesses? And they're still tackling in the high cost of living, Mr. David.
Oh, it is a serious affections to the community and to the business community as well, because for example, when per day there's large amount of money that is being lost through tax revenue collections and per GDP per capita, and we can see clearly every demonstration day there's no functioning business, either in the city or in the local place. And that is where the high cost of living is coming down. Beside that, we have the hooligans that destroy the already established small business that exist at the grassroots level. And what do we expect when these small businesses are being destroyed, when the fire are being burned on the already existing business, when the vandalization and destruction is taking place? Just like I stated about the supermarket, just like we have seen about the Uhuru farm being invaded by goons. And what do you expect in terms of high cost of living? Ultimately, high cost of living will rise at a very high level. And pertaining the way we can pursue the issue of high cost of living, because the government is also still new at hand. Now we have the rains that are going on. Let us invest in ecological processes where the climate advocacy is being brought on board, the awareness of the environmental conservation, the agricultural activity. Let's indulge ourselves in agricultural activity, the enumeration process and and registration of farmers, the reduction of prices of seeds, the subsidy that was created upon the fertilizers and the importations. In fact, the CES for agriculture state very well that by early April, there will be importations of a lot of maize and rice, whereby will also give some points of reduction of the high cost of living. And the government has also to come clear and with some regulations and policy to deal with high cost of living, because at the time, today, when you have 1,000 shillings and use it, you'll be left with nothing, because oil is extremely high, unga is extremely high, milk and whatever, the simplest rice, beans and everything, very costly, and there's no money at hand at the grassroots level. So I could urge our people to indulge in environmental advocacy, so that we can also counter the high cost of living through cultural practice of agricultural activity in the grassroots level. Thank you.
Now, to you, Mr. Tony Brilliance, the promise was peaceful demonstrations. And what, due to lack of a better word, so far so bad? We have seen the loss of lives, we have seen the loss of property, we have seen destroyed of businesses, and it's not leaving anyone behind. Even the high offices, the people like former president, the prime minister as well, they're also experiencing that. Now, what do you make of this, and how do we get a resolution, like just the whole resolution of what is happening?
You see, Azimio leaders, they don't claim, but they actually say as a fact that they've given notices to the police and of these demonstrations, and the police have time and again repudiated them. They've told them, no, we are not going to allow you to do this. Now, and now, according to the police, these mass demonstrations are illegal. Azimio feels that if we ask for dialogue, you're not budging. You don't want. If we ask for notices to picket constitutionally, you're refusing. You know, if someone comes to your house and someone is very hungry, and you have this cake, this national cake, and you're enjoying, but you're showing them this is the national cake I'm enjoying, and they come and knock once, you refuse to open, but just show them that you're licking it, you know you're enjoying. And after 2 days, they come and knock, please give me something, you refuse. What will happen after 1 week or after 2 weeks? They will come and break the door, and that is what is happening. They are breaking the door, they say, we want that share, we want, because to me, coupled with this high cost of living, they also feel this national cake needs to be shared. To some extent, everybody needs a piece, because Kenya is not for just one person, Kenya is for all. So they feel, yes, we need to be represented. We need a taste of that national cake.
Yes, and you did talk about the illegal demonstrations that have been timed by, of course, officials, and they did say that the notices are coming in late. We don't know how true that is. But to you, Mr. David, of course, we are talking about they are not being given their right maybe to go and demonstrate and maybe do what they're supposed to do, and we have people dying there. Maybe perhaps there is need for a strategy, reconstruction, or what needs to be done, because continuing with this, with the more protests, are we looking forward to seeing more loss of lives, more destruction of property? Do we need to maybe address this in a restructured way, or what ought to be done?
Thank you so much, Beatrice, but it is clearly that every Kenyan citizen has the right to picket peacefully and demonstrate peacefully. And every time your demonstration infringes the rights of other persons, it is now illegal. What do you expect when people demonstrate and bring down a 20 billion building within 10 minutes? And they call it a peaceful demonstration. What do you expect when people demonstrate and loot the same brothers and sisters' properties in the same community and expect that is a peaceful? What do you expect when the same Kenyan citizens burn vehicles while demonstrating, burn vehicles and steal properties from other peoples? I feel like the government is on their right, as the Constitution entails, that you're only allowed to demonstrate and you have the right to demonstrate only when you shall be peaceful. Because it can happen. It had happened before and it can also happen. But by the time you people engage in stealing and destruction of property, that now it becomes illegal. And the same things you are seeing by the in the internet and in the TV. When people steal sheep from other farms, when people invade and burn markets, when people kill one another, I don't think the demonstration should be legal anymore. And it should be stopped. And the perpetrators should be dealt with perpendicular. And they should not be given any room for anything. Any person who has stolen any property, who has damaged any property, should face the law. And any person who has incited the citizens of Kenya should face the law. Because where we are heading to, if we don't take stringent measures, then we shall lose it. And we shall go back to 2007, what we experienced. My friend, I'm telling you, I'm on the ground. Yesterday, I engaged with the same people the same brothers and sisters we live within the society. And they are fighting within one another. The same people we are living together are burning the mosque of the fellow brothers and sisters. And they are stealing fellow brothers and sister property. That is not peaceful demonstration, and that is not right as per the Constitution. When I talk about the killing, maybe the government is using a lot of force towards the Kenyan citizen. But to other side, they are also human beings. Maybe their life and defense are in danger. So they are trying to protect themselves, because one person who was shot in Kibra was shot by the area OCS, Kibra police station. But I feel on the other side, maybe his life was in danger, because the same people we shot are the same people who are throwing stones and bottles to his face. What if it were you? What would you have done? So it is very, very unfair, and to make it worse, these people who are being injured are facing very vigorous health in the society, has not been visited by the so-called leaders of the society that are inciting them. So this is a lesson to the community and the society as a whole, and to our faith-based organization, that we should come together and live as one. We should not fight one another, we should not preach violence, and we should live in one accord.
I saw a point of order there. Maybe there's something you want to add on that.
My honorable brother here was asking, what can the police do if he feels that he was being attacked? Now, in this specific case that he's talking about, this one and coupled with others like the death that I saw in Maseno, the police they usually have instructions. They're supposed to, when there are this kind of demonstrations, they're not supposed to shoot towards the protesters. They're supposed to shoot up. Even when they're dispensing of the bullets or let me say the tear gas, you don't shoot directly at people. You shoot, because they're the same people whose taxpayers you're living on. You shoot up in the sky. And in this particular case, why did this police officer shoot directly at a protester? You see, someone needs to be accountable. Somebody needs to, I think, where are the human rights organizations that need to take this? Yes, and then let's agree on one thing here. In India, non-violence protest was possible because of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was able to lead 200 million people into what we call a salt march, where they walked peacefully. They were not really demonstrating as such. They were walking peacefully and basically just saying, we want the British to go. In Africa, especially here in Kenya, tell me from 1963 up to this point in time, have we ever had anything called a peaceful demonstration? It is impossible. Once people demonstrate, there is nothing, we can never have a peaceful even if you want to have a peaceful demonstration, these police officers will still shoot at you like they are doing right now. So just to play the devil's advocate, this thing of saying, it's a fallacy of saying, no, we're going to have peacefully, people will demonstrate, but don't ever expect that we're going to have a peaceful demonstration. It is impossible, not in Kenya. We cannot have a peaceful demonstration. We have seen, the other day I saw one entertainer, what's his name, Eric Omondi, he was he was protesting on the high cost of living. And largely, by and large, it was supposed to be a peaceful demonstration. And they were just, picketing in front of the parliament. And then it almost quickly turned violent when the police started manhandling them. There is a way to go about this. So when they do that, now you'll see people running about, throwing stones, fighting, and it becomes ugly. So I think also the police need to follow the police standing orders. They need to follow the National Police Service Act. They need to follow all the laws, the Constitution, all the laws that have been set for them. Because one of these fine days, we are going to start picking up these cases. Yeah.
And now, even as we're talking about peaceful demonstrations and what ought to be done, that is, of course, not happening. We could see the demos that what transpired yesterday, just to bring the matters back to table. What happened in Kibra, we could see the police were there and they were present with what was happening. And, of course, they did say that the demonstrations are illegal and what have you. But there was also another challenge of the other cases of the farm there in Ruiru of the president, that the police were also not able to show up as well. And then also the Raila Odinga case of the gas company, the police were nowhere to be seen in that case as well. There are many demonstrations. There are others that feel, if you could see, people did talk about that, the politicizing of the demonstrations, because there are others who are there genuinely worried about the high cost of living, and of course there are others who are there to support their political leader. But now when it comes to others demonstrations happening elsewhere, what is happening? Are these demonstrations now being deviated from what they ought to be, and who is even controlling these demonstrations, and what is happening? Do these demonstrations need to go on in the country?
Thank you so much. First of all, we should ask ourselves, where was these mass demonstrations taking place and as the hotspot? These places were, I can count right from Kisumu, Migori, Nairobi, Kibera, and maybe Mombasa. And you see a lot of these diehards, fanatic fans, are the greatest followers of Raila Amolo Odinga. And I don't want to hide you, Beatrice. A lot of these people are hooligans who steal from the people. I come from the ground and we live with them. We have genuine people who will always do demonstration peacefully. But when the demonstrations are called, we have a lot of people who are living below their average, and they are unemployment youths, they are drug addicts, and they are criminals who will engage in looting and destructions of other people's property. So when you see, like for the other day in Kibra, I can tell you for free, these were youth, purely youth, under the age of 35 coming down. Youth invading a market and burning a market in broad daylight. The people who we know, it's not that we don't know them, the people who we live with them. And the same people are snatching little ladies their phones. To the extent of snatching your phone, they give you a cut with a panga, with a knife. And if you want to attest to that records, you can go to Shirika Hospital and you will get all the records. A lot of people went through there, and this is very painful. When you see a group of youth burning mosque, what do you expect? Looting everything everywhere. What do you expect? And this is the area that we live. This is the same community that we are engaged in. These are the people, these are our mothers, these are our brothers and sisters. And when Raila comes, he comes with a lot of crowds. When he goes, the crowds remain. The crowd still wants to dance around and still around. What do? They start throwing thorns to the estate people, and they get and they vandalize, they cause destruction. These are the scenes that we experience. Most probably yesterday when they were trying to snatch Seto Lale, the camera, a group of people who are genuine people, who are demonstrating peacefully, they came to protect the people of Citizen, and that's where it escalated. They start throwing stones at the group of people who are genuine, and the group who are genuine starts throwing stones, and this escalated. They start burning things, they start destroying everything. At this moment, Raila is not around. Raila is gone. What are we doing to our society? We are breaking our own property. We are breaking our own economy. We are vandalizing our own systems. Where do we see us? Even if Raila is fighting for high cost of living, what we have created in the ground, the effect will remain for a period of time. Raila will not come back to bring back the economy that has been vandalized. This is basically on our own responsibility. And how shall we go about this? It's our time that we should learn. We should learn from the mistake that we've done before. Because we are destroying a lot. When other towns are busy making their own money and economy is going on as well, we are busy destroying our own properties, our own system, our own factories, our own companies. Where do we see ourselves in the next year or in the next 2 years? We shall be always lying behind when other people are going front, because we are primitive. We don't want to look. A leader comes and incites us and we start following nonsense instead of standing out as community and living in one accord. In fact, this was the time that we should demonstrate peacefully without destroying anything, because the pinch is upon everybody's table. Whether you are which kind of tribe, we are all facing the pinch. So this was the time we should unite and demonstrate peacefully for high cost of living to be reduced at a very lower state. So when I can finalize by saying it's upon us as community leaders, it's upon our responsibility as leaders of the nation to train our youth and citizens so that we can deviate from the culture of destructions and burning our own properties. Thank you.
Now, back to you, Mr. Tony. We did say, I did mention there is a view that is saying maybe the demonstrations are losing their causes because of what is happening. And you did talk about the government not on point with what is happening. And maybe how long do these demonstrations need to go on, because we have not seen a proper address maybe by the government or an official address of what the way forward. Now, at what point are we going to have the government address this issue? How many more people need to die? Or do the Azimio team go back again and restructure? Because as it is happening, the police are coming up and the people are dying and people are being attacked. Do they need to restructure or just move on how do we move forward past this, and when will the government catch up with what is happening?
For the government, I feel like there is a stalemate here. We are underestimating, I think the government is underestimating Raila a lot. Because numbers tell us he controls almost half of the voters in this country, or half of the country for that matter. As far as following is concerned, my honorable brother here was talking about, these demonstrations being concentrated on very small pockets in, say, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, and the rest of the places. What I would want him to understand is that Kenya is bigger than Mombasa or Nairobi. Kenya is bigger than Kisumu. Kenya is all these counties here. And just because they are not demonstrating does not mean that they are not clamoring or they are not supporting those demonstrations, that they are not clamoring for that high cost of living to be reduced. We need to come, and if you ask me, the demonstrations, Raila has already made this point. And the demonstrations, if you ask me, they are not, per se, the demonstration will not bring down the high cost of living. Especially we are talking about this high cost of living, there are certain areas within our economic policies or economic policy framework that we need to work on, that I think these guys need to sit down and discuss and dialogue and see how, for instance, we have, I believe the Central Bank of Kenya has financial reserves which is supposed to be used to cushion against inflation. Why is the Central Bank not saying anything? Why are they quiet? Because these financial reserves are usually there. They are set up in our government. The government controls that, and they are set up to cushion high cost of living in the sense that they cushion inflation and also promote cost competitiveness. Why don't we approach it from this point of view? When I'm talking about demonstration still, the issue of, say, we're talking about peaceful demonstration, I still have my stand that it is very impossible to have, especially when it is politically charged, a peaceful demonstration. Even the government is taking the high road by of course, I do not support illegal picketing and illegal, what my brother was talking about, people, causing mayhem and hooliganism. But when the government also is involved in the sense that, and this is my personal opinion, the attacks that were made on a former president and also on Raila, it doesn't look like it was a normal demonstration kind of thing. This looks like it was something that was organized crime. It was something that was organized by someone high in power. I do not know who, but I feel like it was organized. And then the fact that the police did not show up also is questionable. Yes. So this stalemate, this thing of both sides of the divide trying to show who's boss has got to end, because at the end of the day, hali wawili wakipigana ni nyasi umia. It is the ordinary mwananchi that is fighting. How are we going to deal with this high cost of living? When we sit down and then make it a priority and see what can we do as a country, not just as a government, but as a country. What can we do to cushion this high cost of living? It is not that possible. Remember, Kenya's budget is bigger than 7 or 8 countries within sub-Saharan East Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. In fact, our budget is so big, but we are blowing it up on priorities that are not national in nature. I think that we need to sit down. Both sides of the divide need to sit down. The church had offered to spearhead dialogue. So if they can't do it by themselves, can they let this other third party to do it? Yeah, that's my stand.
Now, even as we come to a conclusion of this review, I'd also like you, Mr. David, to give us your predicaments. What are your predictions? What do you predict will happen maybe in the course, maybe 4 months down the line? What ought to have changed, or what do the demonstrations bring?
Okay. Indeed, if the ultimatum was to be responded to, is only one high cost of living and nothing else. And if it is that, then the government should respond with immediate effect and bring the national leaders, bring all faith-based organizations, and they should deal with that scathingly, so that no one should cry and suffer, because the high cost of living is truly high, and we cannot hide about that. And that should be the only mode of dialogue within the government and all national leaders. And I'm so happy that the government said that they welcome any leader, and they're ready to work with any leader pertaining development, economical development. And if indeed the opposition leader loves the country, he should go to the table with all the national leaders so that they can talk sense on the table. Shouting about opening the server will not make any sense. Shouting about boycotting products will not make. In fact, it will increase a lot of high cost of living to another level. If we are not careful, and things go the same way, we won't believe it, because as we talk now, it is deviating from peaceful demonstration and the fight to high cost of living, escalating back to tribal clash and violence. And this was witnessed yesterday. This is going to be very terrible. When you see a group of people, vigilante, invading in East Africa's spectrum, gas, through stone throwing, when you see a group of people invading a farm belonging to the former president, when you see a group of people coming to burn the mosque and burn marketplace, the other group also will retaliate. But the moment they retaliate, there will be death. They will cause of death. They will cause of bloodshed. And who will carry this cross? So in 4 months, with all these sides of demonstrations of hooliganism, I will see a very fallback Kenya in our presence. Yeah.
Mr. Tony Brilliance, maybe do you share the same thoughts as you give your parting shot? You can also tell us what are your thoughts on the same.
No, I totally agree with him. The solution is not to destroy, but to build. Let's advocate for national cohesion and integration. Let's understand, or at least let the government start understanding or coming to an understanding that if we're going to fix the economy, we can't fix it by destroying it. And what they're basically doing is destroying all these mandamanos, all these things that are going on. it is affecting foreign direct investment. It is affecting other countries, people who are seeing. My brother visited from the States yesterday, and he was telling me while he was there in the States, he met people, and they were saying his friends who know who knows he's Kenyan, he's coming from Kenya, and all they think about is, oh, your country, Kenya, it's burning. What's going on? See, what other people are seeing here is we may be here and we are talking peacefully, but there what they see is that Kenya is burning. We are going back to 2007, and so it's affecting tourism. People can't come here right now. They're going to start giving travel advisories. We are seeing even KQ that we were discussing about. And the first Monday that the Mandamanos began, they halted all their flights in and out. It's affecting the image that we have. There is this image that Kenya, or rather even Africa, just has in the Western world. It is just validating that image that this is not a peaceful country. This is a dark continent. This is a continent that nothing good will happen. It's going to affect us in the long run. So I feel that needs to stop. Let's now build on our image and see how we can develop our economy.
Mr. David, your parting shot.
Thank you so much. What I can say, Beatrice, is that we spend a lot of money in promoting peace building and reconciliation in the community. We sacrifice a lot. We spend a lot of our time in bringing cohesion and integrity. And when you see this cohesion is being destroyed within a week or within a day, you feel a lot of pain. The people who doesn't do nothing, the people who don't create impact in the society about this peaceful cohesion will never see anything. But we go around ward and ward, county and county, preaching peace and bringing cohesion upon the community. I feel a lot of pain as an advocate of change and human rights activist when I see our same leaders who we admire, the same leaders who some of them mentor us, incites people, and the same fanatic diehards break down our property. They fight one another. I can just talk to our Kenyans sincerely with the simple language possible. Let's love one another. Let's come back to our normal love, togetherness, as a sense of togetherness in the community. Let's not fight one another. Let's not destroy one another's property. Let's live in one unity and accord. And let's not burn our own property, because we shall face the consequences later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Of course, there's a lot to talk about, but time is not on our side, and I look forward to having more and more conversations with you. And of course, I'm sure our viewers back there are so thankful for the reviews that you have done for them, and thank you so much. To have yourselves a lovely day. And that was David Kose, that is our aspiring member of parliament, and you have Tony Brilliance, a lawyer, a governance and political analyst as well. And you have heard from the experts, and I've seen your tweets, but due to time, will not be able to go there. Do make sure to keep the conversation going. The SMS line is 21144, GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. That is our time for Morning Extra. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Good day.
Everywhere, GBS.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football akakaundo.
Yeah, wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I'm coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Everywhere, GBS.